Welcome to American Agenda. I'm Bob Brooks.
And I'm Katrina Zish. We're going to get right into what the Prime Minister discussed. Here now with reaction, the national president of the Zionist Organization of America, Morton Klein. Mort, thank you so much for joining us. A very powerful speech by Prime Minister Netanyahu, also very graphic at certain points to make it very clear that Hamas, they are true barbarians and they truly have no respect for human life, especially for Americans and Israelis. He also said that President Trump is a great ally, and he ended with saying, if you do not fight for your freedom, you will lose it. Your reaction?
Well, I'm very glad that Prime Minister Netanyahu finally pushed back about the lie of starvation. No, it's almost comical. You see on TV shows, it's almost like Saturday Night Live. You see a heavy-set Gaza Arab woman with a normal-looking child screaming starvation. It's comical. I'm glad he's finally pushing back on this lie. And the lie of genocide. The Gaza Arabs have been screaming genocide for years, while the population has doubled over the last few years. Doubled. That's a hell of a genocide. And then, of course, he talked about the humanitarian aid that he's giving to Gaza. But I want to ask this question. In what war do we worry about enemy civilians? In the Russia-Ukraine war, have we heard anything about the Ukraine and Russian civilians who are being killed? No one says a word. In the Iraq war that we fought against Iraq, 100,000 civilians were killed. No one said a word. During Nazi Germany, the Holocaust, millions of civilians were killed. No one said a word. Why are people screaming about the Gaza enemy civilians, 90% of whom voted for Hamas, 93% by their own polls supported October 7th massacre? Why are we worried about them? Because it's a way to condemn Jews. This is pure anti-Semitism, people worrying about enemy civilians. So this is new, by the way. Israel has not been pushing back on these lies for the last 2 years. Finally, he's pushing back. I wish, though, he had talked a little bit about Islam, that we need just as the president of Egypt, al-Sisi, said, we need a reformation of Islam which promotes hatred and violence against Jews and against Christians. I wish he made it clear that Mahmoud Abbas has made it clear no Christian or Jew will be allowed in any future state of Palestine, that the leaders of Hamas has said, first we want to kill the Jews, but next we're going to kill all the Christians. The charters of Hamas and Fatah, I wish he had said, the charters of Hamas and Fatah call for the murder of every Jew and for the destruction of Israel. What point needs to be made very clearly, this Arab-Islamic war against the Jews in the West is not about land, it's not about economics, it's not about a state. It's about destroying the Jewish state of Israel, ultimately destroying America, and killing as many Jews and Christians as we can.
The Prime Minister talked about the mutilation of truth at a big point of the speech he just gave, getting these lies and exposing them, as you're pointing out as well. Talk about why you think so many people, and here in America, so many people are believing those lies and they're pushing that propaganda.
There's two primary reasons. One, the media keeps promoting these lies as truth. You keep seeing images of starving children when in fact they have diseases or they're children from Yemen. And you keep hearing about genocide in the streets of America and throughout the world. Genocide, genocide, genocide. It finally starts to impact. For those reasons, and because the Israeli officials and Jewish leaders have not pushed back on these lies in any significant way, this speech by Prime Minister Netanyahu is a beginning of pushing back on these lies. That there has not been enough of that, not by the Israeli officials and not by Jewish leaders in the United States of America. In addition, we have to I wish he made it more clear. We cannot allow a Palestinian Arab state. This will be a terrorist dictatorship that will only give more power to the terrorists, more land, and more ability to do violent harm against Jews and others who live in Israel.
Mort Klein, thank you so much for your immediate feedback to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Thanks again.
Thank you so much.
All right.